Looking for financial insights you can trust?
How do you protect yourself as an investor? What's the strategy?
I think it's really simple. I think you just want to be diversified in your portfolio.
The Payne family brings real-world experience to every conversation.
Well, I think that's the problem right now is, right, a lot of people that are close to retirement, they're taking so much risks. And if we do get a big sell-off, it could derail their retirement.
Listen to the Pain Points of Wealth on the Red Apple Podcast Network.
I had that dream again. My small business needs to hire, but I don't use LinkedIn, and I hire wrong. So then I'm doing IT, and when I go to plug the servers in, they become sentient, and they won't let us access our network unless we forward their chain emails and memes to more and more and more people, and then I wake up.
Don't let hiring nightmares ruin your dreams. LinkedIn Jobs' new AI assistant finds and invites best fit candidates to apply, so you can discover talent you may have missed. Post your job for free at linkedin.com/quality. Start hiring today with LinkedIn.
The Rev and the Rabbi on the Red Apple Podcast Network.
Good morning, I'm Rabbi Joseph Potasnik.
And I'm Reverend A.R. Bernard.
Reverend, this has been a tragic week in the history of the FDNY with the passing of firefighter Patrick Brady. And we're going to discuss that and what it means for the city, for the department, with the 35th Fire Commissioner of New York, the Honorable Robert S. Tucker. Commissioner Tucker, thank you for being with us on this difficult day.
Thanks, Rabbi. Thanks, Reverend. Good to talk to both of you.
Yeah. You know, people see a name, Patrick Brady, and obviously they don't know the person. They may not know the story, although some of the newspapers have given some detail. Talk about him from your perspective.
Well, look, the department is in mourning. Pat represents everything that's great about FDNY. A larger-than-life figure, seemingly the mayor of the Rockaways, friends with everybody. Nobody has a bad word to say about him. And, really, by all accounts, an amazing human being that we lost. Great firefighter, great husband, great son, great brother. Just an all-around magical guy.
Yeah. FDNY runs through the veins of the family, right?
I didn't hear you, sorry.
That's okay. I'm sorry. I talked over my colleague here. But I think it's important. Our show is nationally syndicated. So can you give us some context? What exactly happened? What transpired, if that's okay?
Yeah. Sure. Firefighter Brady was what we call the roof man at an all-hands fire in Brooklyn on the top of a apartment building. He ascended an aerial ladder with all of his equipment. When he got to the top, he was not feeling well. The fire was still ongoing and not under control. And as he began to work on the roof, he collapsed, apparently went into cardiac arrest. And our rescue paramedics, as well as our firefighters and other medical professionals, went to work on him right away. He was brought out of the fire building, removed to Brookdale Hospital, where he was pronounced dead.
And being a firefighter is something that is not new to his family. I had the privilege of meeting some of them. There's a lot of FDNY in that family.
Yeah, there's really two families in the FDNY: your family, and then your FDNY family. And not only was he a part of an FDNY family, he was also a brother, a firefighter, so he was a part of really two big FDNY families, and we are all really beside ourselves over his passing.
Was there any pre-existing conditions that he or his family or the department may have been aware of?
Yeah, I'm not going to talk about his health. What I would say is that being a firefighter is so stressful, and every one of our members who do this heroic job is subject to an unusual amount of stress when they are fighting fires or even responding, our EMTs and paramedics. There's no real difference in their health-related stress on the job. And so there's been lots and lots of data produced on stress levels, heart rates, blood pressure, etc., of both cops and firemen, EMTs and paramedics who are just driving in an emergency mode to an incident. And so the stress really starts when the bell goes off and you're racing to the fire truck, getting dressed, putting on bunker gear, getting into the truck, and then racing out of the firehouse. And it goes from there, and then it just increases.
Yeah, Commissioner, the reason I asked the question was not to dig into his personal life, but for the public to understand, number one, what's the weight of the equipment that a fire has to carry, and talk a little bit about the training that goes into preparing these individuals before they actually get out on the job as appropriate.
Yeah, when our firefighters are in our state-of-the-art, world-class academy located on Randall's Island here in New York City, they're there for 18 weeks, and it is rigorous. It is really, really focused, and we are hoping to produce some of the best firefighters in the world. But the training really just begins when they graduate and they go into the firehouses that we assign them to, and they begin to drill with more senior firefighters. And that's really when they learn the intricacies and the nuances of this highly specialized work that they do.
We're going to have to take a break in a moment, Rev. When we come back, I know you have a question. And Commissioner, I also want you to describe what is known as a dignified transfer, something that I witnessed this past week. Of course, you were there. It's almost indescribable, but I think people have to know what takes place. So we'll be back.
Yeah, so stay tuned for more of the Rev and the Rabbi right here on Red Apple Radio Networks.
The Rev and the Rabbi on the Red Apple Podcast Network.
Looking for financial insights you can trust?
How do you protect yourself as an investor? What's the strategy?
I think it's really simple. I think you just want to be diversified in your portfolio.
The Payne family brings real-world experience to every conversation.
Well, I think that's the problem right now is, right, a lot of people that are close to retirement, they're taking so much risks. And if we do get a big sell-off, it could derail their retirement.
Listen to the Pain Points of Wealth on the Red Apple Podcast Network.
Over the last 20 years, L'Oréal Paris has honored 200 women of worth, uplifting their communities. Women who see the worth in every person, overlooked or underserved, who see an opportunity for change, who see a chance for better. They may be one of 200, but their journeys are always uniquely one of one. Here's to 200 more women of worth.
We're worth it.
We're worth it.
We're worth it.
We're worth it.
Oh, Hilton stay, oh, Hilton stay. Your beds are soft and cozy. No lumpy couch, no stiff futon, no shower line at crack of dawn. Oh, Hilton stay, oh, Hilton stay.
When you want holiday comfort you can count on, it matters where you stay. Enjoy comfortable rooms and friendly service when you stay with Hilton instead. Save up to 25% this season when you book with Hilton. Hilton for the stay. Terms apply.
Okay, Chad. Today you're gonna drive the all-electric Toyota BZ.
But my electric vehicle phobia. I'm not ready, Dr. Ross.
I believe in you.
Oh my gosh. We're inside it.
Try to take deep breaths, okay?
The ventilated seats, they're touching me.
You can do this, Chad. Drive the car. How do you feel, Chad?
I feel cured. Woohoo! I'm doing it! I'm doing it!
The all-electric BZ. One drive can change your mind. Toyota. Let's go places.
The Rev and the Rabbi. Entertaining and informative on the Red Apple Podcast Network.
Welcome back. I'm Rabbi Joseph Potasnik.
And I'm Reverend A.R. Bernard. Commissioner, my son is actually a volunteer firefighter out on Long Island where he lives, and he loves it. In fact, it was just this past week that they were engaged in a fire, very serious fire. And one of the things that amazed me, he comes back and he says, "Dad, we did this together, we did that together." This whole sense of community. In fact, my other son, who's a chef, came in and cooked for the whole department, and they feasted together. But speak to this community that develops over time that you become a part of.
Yeah, I am so happy that you get to see that in the way that you do. The FDNY is a family, but it's not just our active members. Our retired members are as much a part of the grieving process because they knew Pat and they know the Brady family so well. I think this is something that all fire departments have. When you are part of the fire service, you're really one family. And the volunteers that really do service most of America is protected by volunteer fire departments. It's very unusual to have a large paid fire service. It's only reserved for the largest cities, New York City, Los Angeles, Houston, Dallas, Chicago, these are Miami, but that's not America. America is much smaller cities than that. Towns, villages, these are protected by volunteers. And let me just say that as the commissioner of the largest fire department in the country, I have a world of respect for those individuals who volunteer as fully trained firefighters and drop what they're doing and race out of their homes, out of christenings and out of bar mitzvahs and out of birthday parties and dinners to go for free to help others. And so, we have volunteer firehouses still in Queens, in the Rockaways, on Staten Island, and wow. they help us too. So it's a little known fact that there are still a few small volunteer fire companies in New York City, and believe it or not, some of those volunteers are actually my active duty firefighters who also volunteer their time when they're not working for FDNY.
Wow. I want to ask you and I were together for what is known as a dignified transfer. Can you describe what that means for people who are not familiar with the protocol?
Yeah, it's a very, very special ceremony when we're moving the body of a member of the fire department who dies in the line of duty. So there's essentially three movements, if you will. There's the movement from the hospital to the office of the chief medical examiner. That's one movement. We do that in a dignified way where, with our partners from the NYPD, there's a large escort. We station apparatus to respectfully salute the motorcade. People pull over and salute us also. Then from the office of the chief medical examiner, we move the body again in a highly dignified way from the office of the chief medical examiner to the funeral home. And then finally, after the funeral, we move the body in a highly dignified way from, in this case, the church to the burial site.
What I was taken with is that everything stopped. First of all, the patrol, the police patrols made sure there was no traffic. You couldn't enter the highway. But to see people stop and salute, to express their gratitude for someone who gave his life for the city of New York, I found so moving, so meaningful. You talk about community. there's community with people you don't even know, people who love you, who've never met you.
I've seen it also, Rabbi, where civilians that we don't even know pull their cars over, get out of their cars, and just stand there and salute. It is beautiful.
Wow. Let me ask you a question. You personally, Commissioner, you went from the business world to commissioner of the largest fire department in the country, I understand. But you had a long-term relationship with the FDNY, and that's why you could be embraced the way you have been embraced by them. Speak a little bit about that relationship.
Yeah, well, I have served on the board of the FDNY Foundation for many, many years. But please, Reverend, know that I don't take for granted for one moment the reception that the members of this department have given me since day one. It has been really something that I cherish, and it's something that I know I don't have to have had. And I also, as I said, don't take for a minute that for granted, because I know it's special. And I hope that the members of the FDNY know that I've got their back.
Rev, you should see, by the way, the deep respect, profound respect that Commissioner Tucker receives from members of the FBI who are so thankful that he is the commissioner, because what he does, and Commissioner, I've seen you do it, everyone is treated as being special, whether it's someone who's part-time, full-time, doesn't matter what your position is. You walk over, you shake the hand, you express your appreciation for service to the FDNY. That matters so much to people there, and I've heard it many times.
I witness it. I witness it personally because it's more than the uniform. It's a connection, that you in a relationship. Commissioner, please proceed. It's
been the honor of a lifetime to serve as the 35th New York City Fire Commissioner. As both of you know, it's been a lifelong dream come true. And once you have an awesome responsibility of running the greatest fire department in the world, you have got to work, turn the treadmill up to 12 and sprint every day for these guys, because they're doing that for the 8.5 million New Yorkers and lots of visitors, and they deserve nothing less than my heartfelt respect and my love, and that's what they have gotten. But be assured, I feel it back from them. It's a two-way street, and this job is giving much more than it's getting.
Well, legacy, Commissioner, is something that we don't accidentally leave, even though it can happen that way, but it should be intentional. What do you want your legacy to be with the fire department?
Look, I've had a wonderful life, very blessed life, and this is the cherry on the icing on the cake for me. But I hope that I'm remembered as a members commissioner. I hope that I'm remembered as someone who cared deeply for every single person that wears this patch, whether it's our fire inspectors or our dispatchers or our fire marshals, obviously our firefighters, our EMTs, our paramedics, but our awesome civilian staff in our medical office, in our computer division. You just can't believe how amazing the men and women are who work for the FDNY. And you think you know what it's like because you spent years on the board of the FDNY Foundation. Frankly, you know nothing. You know nothing until you become a part of it. And once you become a part of it, it's a family. I believe I'll be a part of it for the rest of my life.
So, Commissioner, speaking of legacy, I want to personally say thank you to you, because recently you asked me to serve as the chief chaplain of FDNY. And it also is a great accomplishment in my professional life. It also speaks highly of your impeccable judgment. But really, I've served,
Commissioner. He had to do this.
I've served, a community, congregation, board of rabbis. But to be in the company of FDNY is something that really, it brings you, this heartwarming. If you feel that your life, what have you accomplished? And you look back at FDNY and say, this really mattered. This was transformational. So I'm very grateful to you.
Rabbi, first of all, congratulations. I should call you Chief.
That's right.
Chief, congratulations.
Yeah, Chief.
And let me say this. There was not one person, no one who dissented from the notion that we were going to make you chief. In fact, many people said, isn't he already the chief chaplain? You are the first chief chaplain of the FDNY ever. And there is not a better person who lives, breathes, bleeds FDNY blood more than you do. I mean, look, everywhere you go, I see the FDNY logo on your lapel.
Yeah, thank you. And Rev, from now on, as you understand, Chief.
Yes, sir. Yes,
okay.
Sir.
All right, thank you so much.
Thank you, Commissioner, for being with us again. Always a pleasure having you on the program.
My absolute pleasure. Thank you to both of you.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Stay strong.
And stay tuned for more of the Rev and the Rabbi right here on Red Apple Radio Network. We'll be right back.
The Rev and the Rabbi on the Red Apple Podcast Network.
Abercrombie Kids is bringing the cheer all holiday season and the gifts too. No matter how long their wish list is, there's always room for just one more. Whether it's a new winter coat, an extra pair of jeans, or cozy matching sweat sets, get gifting with looks they've been waiting for all year. Shop Abercrombie Kids in the app, online, and in stores.
The Freddy Fazbear box just dropped at Popeyes for $7.99, and it's scary good. Garlic palm tenders and cheesy bites with marinara sauce. Upgrade to the deluxe box with $12.99 and get a 20-ounce drink in a cupcake cup. Dig in before it's too late. Try the Freddy Fazbear Crunch menu, now at Popeyes. See Five Nights at Freddy's 2, only in theaters. Love that chicken from Popeyes. Limited time at participating U.S. restaurants. Prices may vary.
This is Jason Momoa, and I'll be your finance professor today. Welcome to Banking Smarter 101 with Chime. Bam! First lesson, sign up for Chime and set up direct deposit. You'll be joining millions of members banking fee-free. Second lesson, get cash back on eligible purchases while building credit and a higher APY on your savings. That's how you bank smarter this season. Fa-la-la-la-la, class dismissed. Join Chime today.
Chime is a financial technology company, not a bank. Banking services and a secure Chime Visa credit card provided by the Bancorp Bank N.A. or Stride Bank N.A. Members FDIC. Optional services and products may have fees or charges. Details at chime.com/fees-info. With a qualifying direct deposit, earn 1.5% cash back on eligible secure Chime Visa credit card purchases. On-time payment history may have a positive impact on your credit score. Results may vary. APY means annual percentage yield. Learn about credit building and more at chime.com.
John Legend, Sheryl Crow, Elvis Costello, and Alanis Morissette star in the MGM Plus original series, Words and Music. Iconic artists share intimate performances and the stories behind the songs. New episodes Sundays on MGM Plus.
The Rev and the Rabbi. Entertaining and informative on the Red Apple Podcast Network.
Welcome back. I'm Rabbi Joseph Potasnik.
And I'm Reverend A.R. Bernard.
Reverend from my home state, the great state of Massachusetts. We go to Jeff Jacoby, syndicated columnist for the Boston Globe and author of a newsletter I've recommended several times to our listeners called Arguable, in which Jeff tackles issues that I think other people are afraid to address. And that's who he is. So welcome, Jeff. Nice to have you with us again.
Always great to be with you guys.
Thank you so much, Jeff. Rabbi, get us started.
Jeff, looking at the portion recently, because I know you go to the synagogue religiously, so to speak, the portion spoke about Abraham bringing his son to Mount Moriah. He was asked to sacrifice his son. Right. And it describes the journey to the mountain that they walked together. In fact, I think it mentions it twice. After that traumatizing experience, coming back, it doesn't say they walked together. And there's no reference to Isaac and Abraham ever speaking again. And I looked at that and I said, well, today we have people who don't talk to each other, or if they do talk, they talk in a very disrespectful, denigrating fashion. In our country, seeing what's going on, the left versus the right, social media, do you think there is any way that we can close the divide somewhat? We can regain some of that respect? Or is that just being delusional?
The short answer is no. I don't see anything in the near term that is that seems to me to be a sign of hope, something that's going to turn things around. I'm very afraid. I have been fearing this more and more in recent years, and I am very afraid that nothing is going to change the downward trajectory that this country is on, except a disaster. Wow. Some kind of disaster. I don't know what form it will take, but the last time that I can think of in American society that there was a overwhelming feeling of unity among the people, left and right, Republican and Democrat, young and old, coasts and flyover. The last time I can think of anything that felt like unity in this country was in the immediate aftermath of 9/11. When you remember the scene with all of the members of Congress, including some who have never been on the same side of a vote in all their careers, massing on the steps of the Capitol to sing God Bless America or the Star Spangled Banner. And you remember how all over the country flags were being put out by people who were reaching for the most evocative symbol that they could think of to communicate, we're all in this together, we're all one. The fact that today it's impossible to imagine such a reaction to anything is a real indictment of how far we have fallen. I think, you mentioned social media, and I think that's a big piece of it. But I have to say, I think a big piece of it is also terrible leadership. Although we love to think of ourselves as individuals who make up our own minds, there's no question that, especially in a country as big as this one, in a democracy where people choose their leaders, the old saw about a country gets the government that it deserves. There's something to that. And in the other direction, there's something to be said for the idea that leaders set the tone.
Well, Rabbi, I don't know what question you have, but I have a very specific question about, this need that we have for an enemy. If we go back to Pearl Harbor, right, that ignited something in the American consciousness. We mobilized an entire nation for war, and it didn't matter what race, ethnicity, religion, gender. The nation rose to the occasion. You pointed out 9/11. During the Cold War, we had an external enemy that united us as a nation. What is this? Our need for an external enemy, Jeff, that sort of brings us together or keeps us together. And then when we lose that enemy, we turn in on ourselves.
I'll have to disagree. I don't think that it's true that the only thing that can bring us together, or that we need to have an external enemy in order to bring us together. Think back to Alexis de Tocqueville, the French aristocrat who came to America from France, traveled around, and it was in the 1830s, and then he wrote what 90 years later is still one of the great classic analyses of American culture called Democracy in America. And what he marveled at was the ability of ordinary Americans in this new phenomenon. And in the 1830s, the idea of a democratic nation really was something pretty unheard of in the world before. And he marveled above all at the fact that Americans joined privately. They came together as volunteers to form private organizations, what today we would call nonprofits or charities. His term for it was associations, to do absolutely anything you could think of, from building schools to organizing missionaries, to feeding the poor, to putting up bridges, to founding new schools, whatever it was. Tocqueville was just amazed at the ability of Americans to work together. And I don't think it's coincidental that he also commented on how in this new country, this democratic United States of America, one of the most important political institutions, in his terms, was religion. Religion was very, very strong in this country. And I think that those two are connected, where you have, where there's a public embrace of transcendent truth, eternal truths, Judeo-Christian truths, whatever the term might be, but where people are raised to share the values that religion imparts, you're much more likely to get the kind of outcomes that religion encourages. Things like people working together to be charitable and to help each other. So I think I disagree with you that the only thing that brings people together is an enemy. At least in the sweep of American history, we have come together many times, not to fight against something bad or to fight against some enemy, but in order to improve our lives. But
but when we don't have an enemy,
and so maybe the results are declining as well.
But when we don't have an enemy, and the history bears it out, we turn inwardly to our domestic problems. And that's when we discover how many problems we really had while we were fighting an external enemy. And I think, over the last 3 decades, we have seen the tech boom of the 90s, overnight millionaires, the expansion of American industry, all of these things, Occupy Wall Street, Black Lives Matter, the March Against the War in Iraq. I mean, we have all of this going on internally that when we are dealing with a lot of external issues, we don't give the time and attention to as much as when we don't have that external challenge. That's what I'm saying.
But I would just add, Jeff, you're a child of Holocaust survivors.
Yes.
I'm a child. I remember when my parents became citizens of this country. My God, it was a sacred moment. It was a Jewish holiday. It was an American holiday. My dad used to walk around with that citizenship paper in his pocket. He was so proud of it. You don't see that. You see when people come to this country from afar, but that spirit is rarely seen elsewhere.
Yeah,
in part, I would say. Well, first of all, many people. I mean, they still schedule, even in this administration, which is so anti-immigrant. Even now, they still have regularly scheduled naturalization ceremonies. Sometimes they're at historic sites like Independence Hall in Philadelphia or Mount Rushmore in South Dakota. But I mean, if you keep an eye on the newspaper or just search for them, and you can find these ceremonies. I will often tweet them when I see it, and it's just beautiful. You see a room full of people with, like a skin of every color and speaking with every kind of accent, and they're waving these little flags because they've just taken the oath of office and become Americans. So I wouldn't say it doesn't happen anymore. What I will say is that, people... I mean, my father became a citizen of this country in 1953. Strangely, it never occurred to me to ask him if he remembered the actual ceremony. It's like so many things. You grow up with your parents, you don't realize until they're gone how many things you wish you had asked them to recount for you. But, we've got now a whole generation who are the children, the grandchildren, the great-grandchildren of that generation. So, we all take our American citizenship for granted. But as the three of us have talked about on previous occasions, this remains a country that so many people would love to come to. And I think one of the worst developments in American civic culture is the hostility toward immigrants and immigration that has just surged.
We got to continue with this, but we got to take a break. Okay.
Great.
We got to take a break. We'll be back with more of the Rev and the Rabbi right here on Red Apple Radio Networks.
The Rev and the Rabbi on the Red Apple Podcast Network.
It's 7v7 soccer. Smaller the pitch, faster the action. The world's elite soccer clubs compete for their share of a massive $5 million prize. Catch World Sevens on TNT, True TV, and HBO Max December 5th through the 7th.
This podcast is brought to you by Carvana. Carvana lets you buy your next car on your terms. Explore a massive inventory online, filter for what matters, and find your perfect match. Then choose delivery to your home or pick it up at one of Carvana's iconic car vending machines. Every car also comes with a 7-day money-back guarantee, so you can make sure it's the right fit. Buy your car on Carvana. Delivery or pickup fees may apply. Limitations and exclusions may apply. See our 7-day return policy at Carvana.com.
Carvana.
And now a message from McAfee.
Your package couldn't be delivered.
You owe thousands in unpaid tolls.
You want a free gift. If texts like these sound familiar, McAfee can help. McAfee automatically identifies text and email scams as well as AI-generated audio to help you stay safe. If they're faking it, they're not making it past us. Get award-winning scam detection today. McAfee.com/keepitreal.
Say hello to the all-new Alexa Plus and see how Alexa can do so much more for you. Need tickets to see your favorite artist? Craving your comfort restaurant? Just sit back, relax, and talk naturally. Alexa's on it. It learns your style, anticipates what's next, and makes it happen across Echo, Fire TV, and more. Learn more at Amazon.com/new Alexa.
The Rev and the Rabbi. Entertaining and informative on the Red Apple Podcast Network.
Welcome back. I'm Rabbi Joseph Potasnik.
And I'm Reverend A.R. Bernard.
And we are speaking with the famous Jeff Jacoby, syndicated columnist for the Boston Globe, and author of that newsletter that I often promote, Arguable, and it's pro bono. Sign up for it. I think you're going to be very enlightened when you read it. Rev?
Yeah, before we went to the break, we got into this conversation here, but you brought up a very important point, Jeff, and we don't hear much about the fact that in spite of what's going on around immigration, all right, in 2024, fiscal year 2024, America took in 818,500 individuals who were naturalized. They became U.S. citizens. The year before that, 2023, it was 878,000. So it's amazing to hear these kind of numbers of people coming in and becoming citizens of the United States while we have all of these other border issues and immigration issues. So I thank you for bringing attention to that, Jeff.
That said, I think I would add 800,000 or 1 million is not nearly enough for a country. I mean, the United States now has 1/3 billion people. This is a really, really, we are, I think, the 3rd largest country in the world by population, and maybe the 3rd, or I think the 3rd largest by area as well. We need immigrants. That's why they come. The whole reason, the whole engine that was driving, the whole question of illegal migrants crossing the border. I mean, the research on this thing has been documented, 6 ways from Sunday, and it's always been clear the economic magnet is so strong. People were willing to take huge risks, at least, until the Trump administration started making it so cracking down with such harshness. But people were willing to undergo incredible burdens and struggles in order to come to the United States, not only those who wanted to live in freedom and were escaping from dictatorship, but also those who were trying to escape from what you might call the dictatorship of poverty and wanted to live in a country with opportunity. And so much of what has made this country great has been done by immigrants. Many of the greatest companies in our in our market on Wall Street were founded by immigrants. Immigrants are more likely to start businesses than people who are born in this country. I mean, the value of immigration, and I say this not only as someone whose father was an immigrant and who has a son who is an immigrant. My wife and I adopted an orphan from Guatemala. But even if that weren't the case, I hope that I would be making the point anyway. This country needs immigration, and immigration has been so great for America. And I just think it's tragic how there's just been such a turn against immigration, and the harshest, most ugly things are said about people. It's obviously true that there are some people who are in the country illegally who commit terrible crimes, but the vast majority don't. And this scapegoating. It's especially hurtful for me because I consider myself politically conservative, and Ronald Reagan was my political. I wouldn't say hero, but certainly my political model. And Reagan, as you and I and our older listeners will remember, was tremendously pro-immigration. What you see now, the Republican Party, was not typical of Republicans, 40 years ago. So I just think it's just one more symptom of the disorder and the pathologies that have taken over this country, and one more reason that I'm not surprised at how bitter things have become. A sign that we're getting better is when you stop seeing people demonizing immigrants as much as they do.
Yeah. By the way, with that contempt for the other, whoever the other may be, does it surprise you when you see the growing rate of anti-Semitism on the extreme left and also on the extreme right?
As you know, because we've talked about this plenty of times before, it doesn't surprise me at all. I've been writing for years that anti-Semitism is a growing problem, and insisting to my right-wing friends that it's a problem also on the right, and telling my liberal friends that it's a problem also on the left. And finally, I think more people are beginning to realize, wow, this is not a right-wing problem or a left-wing problem. It's an every-wing problem. And I've studied history. Just to take a sort of iconic example, think of the Weimar Republic in Germany between World War I and World War II, and the disorder and the social breakdown and the chaos. Whenever you see that kind of social disorder spreading, you can be sure that anti-Semitism will be spreading. And I think it's gotten especially terrible in the 2 years since October 7. I don't think any of us, even those of us who follow the issue closely, I think we're just stunned by the way in which a slaughter of Jews provoked more anti-Semitism and brought out huge numbers of people to cheer for the terrorists. I mean, even I wasn't expecting to see that.
Is that a reality that you guys live with? And I say you and Rabbi, that even before society turns on the Jews, if there is a turning on any minority within a society, you begin to concern yourselves with the possibility that it's coming your way.
It's interesting. I remember growing up, and Jeff, you may have had a similar experience. My parents would talk about anti-Semitism, and, you never know when it could happen. And they would say, never again. It has a question mark after it when we said it, not an exclamation mark. And we would poo-poo it. We would say, no, come on. That's a lesson of the past, not of the present. And now we're looking and saying, maybe our parents were right. Maybe that alarm button never went off. Or went off, and we didn't hear it. But what bothers me is that it's present, it's pervasive, and there are people who don't want to talk about it.
Yes, and more than that, I would say it never fully goes away, and those of us who grew up in post-war America forgot that lesson. We grew up in a brief bubble in history, a brief bubble, at least in Jewish history, when overt hatred of Jews became taboo. After World War II, when the world came to realize what had happened under the Nazis, what had happened in the Holocaust, the recoil against that, the social recoil was so strong that there just was established a taboo on being overtly anti-Semitic. And that was the era in which I was born, and, my cohorts grew up, and we just got, people do, they get used to what to what they see around them. And it was possible to think, okay, the old patterns of Jewish history that were the norm for centuries and centuries, maybe they've finally been broken in this country. I remember the late Rabbi Jonathan Sachs, used to make the point over and over again that because the United States was a covenantal country, because it was founded with a specific connection to traditional religion, because it had such modeled so much of itself on Jewish history, that it would be different from what had happened. Rabbi Sachs died a few years ago, and I wonder what he would say now. I think all of us realize it just isn't true. There is no society that is not susceptible to that terrible virus of anti-Semitism. Yeah. And what we are seeing now, I think, is only the beginning of a terrible trend. And the fact that there are so many people who don't get it, I don't know if you feel this way, Rabbi Potasnik, but I have had this conversation now with any number of my Jewish friends who say that what worries and stuns them the most is how many of their non-Jewish acquaintances cannot seem to understand why, for Jews, this is such a frightening moment, and why so many American Jews are alarmed by what's happening. And there's like a real divide. Jews know something terrible is happening, and they see that their non-Jewish friends and acquaintances and neighbors, for the most part, just don't understand, don't get it.
We've come to the end of the segment.
I just wanted to say that's why religion is so important, because we need an anchor for the soul to protect us from what we can become when our humanity runs out. And that's the role of religion in society. That's the moral place that, the conscience of a society. So, Jeff, we've got to run. We're at the end of the program. Great having you on. Rabbi, some closing words?
Jeff, in religious tradition, is said when you have a conversation with a friend, try to learn something. Don't just have a very superficial conversation. Make it something substantive. Whenever we talk to you and we consider you a friend, it is always enlightening to hear something that you're teaching us. So thank you for being the consummate friend. We listen and we learn, and let's do it again.
You're very kind. Thank you both. One of these days I have to come to New York, and we'll do it together in the studio in person with each other.
The Rev only likes to eat in the most expensive restaurants, so come soon. Inflation is getting dangerous. All right, thanks.
I don't have to tell you who gets the bill, Jeff. I'll leave it right there. Thanks again for being on the program.
And although we're a week in advance, let me wish both of you and all of our listeners a happy and a meaningful and an uplifting Thanksgiving.
Thank you, Jeff.
Amen. Amen to that. And thank you, our listeners, for tuning in for another episode of The Rev and the Rabbi. Till next time, have an incredible week. God bless.
Thanks for listening to The Rev and the Rabbi. You can hear The Rev and the Rabbi Sunday mornings at 7. If you like the podcast, share it with your friends and listen anytime at WABCRadio.com and download the WABC Radio app. Hit that subscribe button on all major podcast platforms. Plus, follow WABC on social on Instagram, TikTok, Facebook, and X. See you next time for a new episode, so you never have to wonder,
what the heck is going on here?
Looking for financial insights you can trust?
How do you protect yourself as an investor? What's the strategy?
I think it's really simple. I think you just want to be diversified in your portfolio.
The Payne family brings real-world experience to every conversation.
Well, I think that's the problem right now, is a lot of people that are close to retirement, they're taking so much risks. And if we do get a big sell-off, it could derail their retirement.
Listen to the Pain Points of Wealth on the Red Apple Podcast Network.